to gather an army of 32,000. Now, math has always not been my best subject. That's a strange way to phrase it. I've never been good at math. And I have to tell you, I struggle with God's math sometimes. God says there's 135,000 soldiers against you. And Gideon says, all right, I don't quite get it, but I'll bring my 32,000 people to battle. Well, just numbers alone, we think the Midianites are just going to clean the clocks. But God says to Gideon, you have too many soldiers. You need to get rid of some. Send 22,000 back home. All right. This leaves me with 10,000 against 135,000. And God says, well, that's still too many. Send more home. And when Gideon only has 300 soldiers left, God says, there's your army. There's your army. Go and face the enemy, and when you win, you will know that it is by God's power and God's power alone that you have succeeded. Friends, I want you to do something with me this morning. Just take a moment and look at the person next to you or in front of you or behind you. Go ahead, you can turn your heads. Look at that person. There you go. Or maybe it's someone that you have in your mind. It's someone that you're thinking of. Look at that person and know that God has placed a call on that person's heart. A call to do something. And I don't care about the age of us in here. We can be a teenager, we can be a little bit elderly. God still places calls on our heart. But maybe God has placed a call upon that person's heart, a call to do something, to care for a child, to care for a hungry and homeless person, to care for an elderly person, to lead a Bible study, to begin a community ministry, to become a church leader, to share Christ with someone, or even to be a pastor, or a preacher, a worship or music leader. In some way, God has called that person that you just looked at, or that you're thinking of, to help build His kingdom. And as you look at that person, as you think of that person, know that there is uncertainty and reluctance and perhaps fear within to respond to that call. And so what I want you to do today is to make a point to pray specifically for that person you looked at this morning or thought of this morning. And maybe that's on the quiet ride home after church. Or when you get home this afternoon or this evening, set some time aside and pray specifically for that person and whatever it is that God is calling them to do. You won't know what they're being called to do, but that doesn't matter. But I want you to pray for that person that he or she does not need to be afraid or reluctant to respond to God's call. God can and does choose the most unlikely of persons to do His work. I believe this wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly, and mostly because I'm living proof. I still wake up mornings, especially on Sunday morning, thinking to myself, I can't believe God has entrusted me to do this. My younger brother Tim was in the church service this morning, and I said, I can't believe that God has called me to do this. If you only knew. Just ask my brother Tim. He knew where I came. He knows where I came from. Most unlikely of persons can be called by God And how we respond to that call is important. Where is our faith and trust in God? That's a legitimate question we can ask ourselves. Where is my trust and faith in God? As we respond to go about the work of building God's kingdom, may we do so knowing that God is with us. God is with us.